Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're diving into the explosive story behind one of Britain's most spectacular traditions. We're talking about Bonfire Night, also known as Guy Fawkes Night. Every year on the 5th of November, skies across the UK light up with fireworks and massive bonfires crackle away, often with a strange-looking dummy or guy sitting on top. But have you ever wondered why? Why do we celebrate a failed terrorist plot with such enthusiasm? Well, get comfortable, because we're about to travel back in time over 400 years to uncover the treason, gunpowder, and political intrigue that started it all. Our story begins in 1603. Queen Elizabeth I, a Protestant monarch, had just died, and the throne passed to her cousin, James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England. For England's persecuted Catholic minority, this was a moment of hope. James's mother, Mary, Queen of Scots, was a Catholic martyr in their eyes, and his wife, Anne of Denmark, had converted to Catholicism. Surely, they thought, King James would be more tolerant and repeal the harsh anti-Catholic laws. But that hope quickly faded. Instead of easing the restrictions, James I continued the persecution. He publicly condemned Catholicism, imposed new fines on those who didn't attend Protestant services, and ordered all Catholic priests to leave the country. For a group of devout, well-connected Catholic gentlemen, this was the final straw. They felt betrayed and believed that peaceful means were no longer an option. Drastic action was needed to restore a Catholic monarch to the throne. This is where a man named Robert Catesby enters the picture. Catesby was a charismatic and influential figure, deeply committed to his Catholic faith. He was the mastermind, the leader who brought the conspirators together. He gathered a small, tight-knit group of fellow disillusioned Catholics, including his cousin Thomas Wintour, Jack Wright, and Thomas Percy. Their plan was audacious, shocking, and utterly ruthless. They weren't just going to assassinate the king, they were going to wipe out the entire Protestant ruling class in one single, devastating blow. And how did they plan to do this? Their target was the state opening of Parliament, scheduled for the 5th of November, 1605. On this day, the king, his eldest son, Prince Henry, the lords, and the members of the House of Commons would all be gathered in one place, the Palace of Westminster. The plotters' idea was to blow the whole building high. It was a plan of shocking scale, aiming to decapitate the entire government. To carry out this fiery plan, they needed two things: a place to store the explosives and someone with military expertise to handle them. They found their location by renting a cellar, or more accurately, an undercroft, directly beneath the House of Lords. It was the perfect spot. Now, they needed their explosives expert. Robert Catesby and his group knew they needed a soldier, someone who was both brave and skilled with gunpowder. And that's when they recruited the man whose name would become forever linked with the plot, Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes, or Guido Fawkes as he sometimes called himself, was a soldier from York. He had spent years fighting for Catholic Spain against the Protestant Dutch rebels. He was a seasoned military man, known for his technical skills and his unwavering courage. Fawkes wasn't the leader of the plot, but he was a crucial member. His job was to manage the gunpowder and, when the time came, to light the fuse that would change English history forever. Throughout 1605, the conspirators secretly moved barrel after barrel of gunpowder into the rented cellar. Can you imagine the tension? They managed to smuggle in a staggering 36 barrels, that's about 2.5 tons of gunpowder, and concealed them under a pile of firewood and coal. Everything was set. Fawkes was to light the fuse and then escape across the River Thames, heading for mainland Europe to spread the news and rally support. Meanwhile, other conspirators were positioned in the Midlands, ready to kidnap King James's young daughter, Princess Elizabeth, and install her as a Catholic puppet queen. As the 5th of November drew closer, the plot was on the brink of success. But then, something happened. One of the conspirators, it's still debated who, got cold feet. He was worried that innocent people, including some Catholic lords who would be attending Parliament, would be killed in the explosion. So, about 10 days before the planned attack, an anonymous letter was sent to a Catholic nobleman named Lord Monteagle, warning him to stay away from the opening of Parliament. The letter was cryptic. It said Parliament would receive a terrible blow, and that they shall not see who hurts them. Lord Monteagle, understandably alarmed, took the letter straight to Robert Cecil, the Earl of Salisbury, who was the King's chief minister. At first, the King's men were sceptical, but they decided to be cautious. They ordered a search of the entire Palace of Westminster. The first search, late on November 4th, revealed a large pile of firewood in a cellar, with a servant, who was actually Guy Fawkes, standing guard. Fawkes claimed the firewood belonged to his master, Thomas Percy. Nothing seemed too suspicious yet. However, the king himself felt uneasy. He insisted on a second, more thorough search in the early hours of November 5th. This time, the search party returned to the cellar. They found Fawkes still there, dressed in a cloak and hat, carrying matches and a slow-burning fuse. When they moved the firewood, they discovered the barrels of gunpowder. The game was up. Guy Fawkes was arrested on the spot. The Gunpowder Plot had been foiled at the very last minute. Fawkes was taken to the Tower of London and interrogated. At first, he was defiant, giving his name as John Johnson and refusing to name his co-conspirators. But under brutal torture, which was legal at the time with royal permission, his resolve broke. He confessed everything and revealed the names of his fellow plotters. A frantic manhunt ensued. Robert Catesby and the other main conspirators had fled London when they heard of Fawkes's capture. They were eventually cornered at Holbeck House in Staffordshire. A gunfight erupted, and Catesby, Percy, and 2 others were killed. The remaining survivors were captured and, along with Fawkes, were put on trial for high treason. The trial, held in January 1606, was a foregone conclusion. All the surviving plotters were found guilty and sentenced to be publicly hanged, drawn, and quartered, a truly gruesome fate reserved for traitors. Guy Fawkes met his end on January 31, 1606, weak from torture. He managed to jump from the gallows, breaking his neck and avoiding the agony of the rest of the execution. News of the king's deliverance spread like wildfire. The people of London, overjoyed that the king and Parliament had been saved, spontaneously lit bonfires across the city in celebration. Parliament quickly declared November 5th a National Day of Thanksgiving, an act which required everyone to attend a special church service. This act remained in force for over 250 years, and so the tradition began. Initially, the focus was purely on celebrating the failure of the plot. But over the centuries, the traditions evolved. The bonfires continued, and people began making effigies, or guys, to burn on top of them, representing Guy Fawkes himself. The famous rhyme, remember the 5th of November, gunpowder. Treason and plot became a part of childhood folklore. Children would make their own guys and ask for a penny for the guy, using the money to buy fireworks. So, when you see those fireworks lighting up the November sky, or gather around a bonfire to keep warm, you're taking part in a tradition that's over 4 centuries old. It's a celebration born from a moment of national crisis, a story of a failed rebellion that has been passed down through generations. It's a reminder of a dark and dangerous chapter in British history, now transformed into a night of community, spectacle, and fun. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into history and culture. Let me know in the comments if you have any bonfire night traditions of your own. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.